The Telltale Head was the 8th episode of the show, debuting on February 25th, 1990. The script was written by Al Jean, Mike Reiss, and executive producer Sam Simon, as well as creator Matt Groening. In one of the very few episodes he wrote, it's interesting, the creator of the show only wrote 4 episodes in the series' entire run, even the infamous Some Enchanted Evening episode that we'll get to later on in the week. But it was also directed by future Wreck-It Ralph director Rich Moore, who of course went on to win an Oscar for his work on Zootopia in the first of his 17 episodes he would direct from 1990 to 1993. One last thing about this episode is that this is the first episode that features Krusty the Clown, Sideshow Bob, Reverend Lovejoy, Jimbo, Kearney, Dolph, Mrs. Albright, and Apu Nahasapipa Petlan. In this episode, Bart becomes friends with Jimbo, Dolph, and Kearney, a group of local troublemakers, and trying to impress them, Bart decides to cut off and steal the head of the statue of Jebediah Springfield, the town's founder. The next day, the entire town grieves for the vandalized statue, and Bart discovers that his new friends want to attack the vandal. Feeling remorse, Bart confesses to his family, and Homer and Bart take the head back to the statue after passing through the furious mob. And this is actually a pretty damn good episode, with a lot of great comic moments. It also has a lot of great twists and turns that keeps the audience invested in what's going on. The main plot of the episode is that Bart's trying to fit in with a group of friends, and thinking that he can pretty much do whatever he wants to impress them, and he just does that. And that's where the most interesting part of the whole episode comes into play, because, Bart cuts off the head, plans to show it off to his friends, thinking that they'd love him, be considered kind of a god to them. And just before he pulls it out, the guys are just as enraged as everybody else is, and Bart realizes the mistake that he made. And, we don't usually see Bart learn a lot of lessons like this very early on in the season. It's not to the levels of something like, Bart gets an F, but it's really close. And I think the most interesting thing about this particular episode, as it turns out, is the ending. For some reason, the original DVD version of the episode has Bart giving a very shortened speech after he realizes what a mistake it was to do what he did, and the townspeople forgive him. And it's literally only 30 seconds long. I mean, it's a version that, it's one that you see a lot on television. Like, if you watch it on FXX and Freeform and on syndication, you would see the shorter version of it. But there is actually a much longer version of the ending, which I personally think is a whole lot better.
And if you still want to tear apart this young Sunday school student as he stands on the brink of salvation, I await your wrath. But I'd like to add one thing. It wasn't until I removed the head of Jebediah Springfield that we realized we were taking our heritage for granted. That was a crime, too. One I think we are all guilty of.
Well, the kid's got us there.
Got a point there. And I know that I'll always feel an inner shame far greater than any punishment you could dish out. Far, far greater. Far, 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 far greater.
Somehow I don't feel like killing anymore.
Neither do I.
There. Forgive me, sir.
No problem, Bart.
Now tell me, does that sound better than the ending that they actually give you in the syndicated version?
And if you still want to tear apart this young Sunday school student as he stands on the brink of salvation, I await your wrath.
It's beautiful, man.
But that begs the question of why this particular version of this ending is very hard to find anywhere. Like, why can't you find this on the regular DVD, or can't you find it on syndication or anything like that? And my only guess is that they cut it down for commercials, even though this was back when commercials didn't keep showing up every 5 minutes, meaning that there would be more time for the show itself than the actual commercials. But then again, we lived in a much different time than we do now. I mean, like, one of the best examples I can think of is that I remember watching The Bodyguard on TV a couple of years ago, a movie that's only 2 hours long, but they make it a 3-hour block, so you're watching a 2-hour movie that's got 59 minutes worth of commercials. 59 minutes. You could watch a TV show, a drama, for the same amount of time you'd be watching commercials. You could watch an episode of an HBO show, or even a show on streaming, like a Netflix drama or an FX show. Like, it's asinine. Like, maybe that's like, I don't know why they decided to cut it down like that. And I can't really find any explanations to why they did that. It just kind of feels like it's very weird why it was cut down in the shorter versions, and I think cutting it down really hurts the overall message of what the episode was trying to get across from that point. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode a lot. I think we were on a cold streak there for a little bit here, and I think that episode breaks the streak a little bit from season 1. It's a good episode with a lot of good comedic moments, good animation, and kids can actually learn from this episode. This episode actually gets shown in health classes to handle peer pressure, and honestly, I envy those kids a lot. All I got shown in health classes as a kid were the ABC after school specials and cartoon all-stars to the rescue, so more power to them, man. This is a really good episode. It's got a good heart to it. It can actually teach you a valuable lesson about how to fit in and ways not to fit in. It's one of the first big surprises from The Simpsons, really. It's one of those first episodes that really shows that this is not just a simple animated show, but this could be so much more than it actually is, and I think this episode does a very good job of handling that.